Good morning. Welcome to the Parenting Versus
podcast.
We are deciding to record another episode 2 days in a row. I don't know.
We're on a roll.
We're on a roll. Well, I do sound at the church sometimes, and I'm doing the late service today, so we have basically all morning to just chill and relax. So we're drinking coffee and going to talk about stuff.
Yep.
So
I have my favorite coffee cup
yeah.
now. It's
Pendleton?
It's a Pendleton coffee cup. Yeah, it's vintage actually. And it has turtles on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I like this cup so much. It's just like it's solid.
Yeah. Looks like it's
a solid mug.
Looks like it'll last probably another 100 years unless you drop it.
Yeah, I think it's from the early 90s. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty rugged /
It's a weird design. Like
It
weird,
is.
Like weird. It's like not really Native American, but it's not really like anything. It's like
I know.
not really Celtic. It's not like, I don't know.
I had to Google it because I didn't really get it. I was like, this is a weird thing for a Pendleton pattern. But no, I like it. It's a solid mug. So
And I have my Nerds Rule mug. It's in the same font of the IT Crowd.
yeah.
If you ever watch that on BBC, it's
I love
amazing.
There's a new show where Richard Ayoade from the IT Crowd, he takes different people like from England on trips, like little day trips, and then they kind of talk. And there was one where he hung out with Noel Fielding, and it was hilarious. It was so funny, and I was like, "This is the best idea ever."
I need to rewatch The Mighty Boosh.
Oh, I love the Mighty Boosh. If you have never seen the Mighty Boosh, it was on BBC
Yeah.
a while back, and our dog's growling at us.
When she wants attention, she'll walk towards me and kind of wiggle her head, and then she'll kind of growl.
Yeah. No, but the Mighty Boosh. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. It's definitely odd.
It's odd.
It's not for everyone.
It's not even British humor, is it?
It's just weirdo humor, I feel like.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I like it.
I do like British humor. I think maybe more than American humor.
You know what's funny is when I was a kid, I used to watch on OPB, like Oregon Public Broadcasting. I used to watch these like British shows, and I think my mom thought I was like not for real. She's like, "You really like this?" And I'm like, "I do." But like Keeping Up Appearances, if you've never watched that, you probably know what it is just based on looking at the characters. But and like Absolutely Fabulous.
No, Penny. She's eating somebody's clothes. Oh no, that's a dish rag. Let me grab that real quick.
Yeah, please do. I don't know how that got out here. But yeah, so I've always liked British humor too. British TV shows and such, so kind of funny. But our kids are back on the trampoline. Surprise. Jumping and screaming like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I feel bad for our 2-year-old. He tried to crawl into our bed this morning, and he lost his footing, and he fell backwards, and he bonked his head on the end table, and it was not good.
Yeah, so this morning both of our kids were in our bed. So Luke, our 5-year-old, usually if he wakes up, he's like afraid, he's scared, he'll be crying. No, it was like probably about 11 o'clock last night.
It was 1:30.
No, Luke, not Riley.
Oh.
Riley was like 1:30.
Yeah.
So Luke kind of stumbled in, silent. I just heard the gate creaking.
That is so
it was
creepy.
kind of creeping me out. He was silent. I was like, okay. I knew it was Luke, but it was still
I'm glad the gate gives us like
unnerving.
a heads up.
Yeah. We have a baby gate that separates our kitchen from our living room, and then our living room into our bedroom is free game. We have a curtain there now, but we have a door too, but
there's
anyway.
like our house is like this weird adobe house, and there's like this arched doorway going to our bedroom, and you can't really buy a door to like fit
Sounds
there.
so fantastic as you describe it.
Oh.
Like we have an adobe house.
We
and
live
an
in a
arch.
cathedral. No, it's just
It's
very
built in the 1700s,
no.
1940s.
It's just very New Mexican, and they don't make doors that fit those little archways, so we put a curtain there.
Yeah. But anyway, like he kind of stumbled in, and he crawled on our bed, and he fell asleep on the foot of our bed.
Oh, I must have been out of it. I don't even remember this.
So I was like, Lukey, are you okay? And he like didn't say a single word. So I picked him up, put him in the bed, and he was out. Oh, it's raining, kind of.
That's weird because
It's sunny. So he was sleepwalking, which I'm a little bit freaked out because I slept walked as a kid. So we really need to get some like baby locks inside our house.
Yeah.
But Riley came in, and he doesn't cry. He's not really. I don't think he gets freaked out, but he crawls out of his crib. He's 2, and the crib is in the lowest setting, but he can crawl out.
Yeah.
And he came into our bed about 1:30.
I'm still baffled by how to deal with this problem.
Yeah.
Like, if
I don't
you
know if
put
there
him-
is a way to deal with
Well,
it.
you put him in a bed. I mean, that's great, but he's still gonna be able to. He's still gonna
Yeah.
get out.
Well, I'm just happy he's in a better mood now.
I feel
Because
like
this
he's-
morning he was in a cranky mood after he bonked his head.
Oh my gosh, it was like an
So-
hour-long meltdown.
But he was, I was making coffee and he was in the living room behind the baby gate. He's like, "Let me out of my cage."
Is that what he
He
said?
was saying, you didn't hear him?
No.
"Let me out of my cage."
Oh,
He
geez.
talks really well for 2.
Yeah, he really does. He's been saying lately, "I want to go with you.
I want to
Like-
go with you.
I want to go with you." Like everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So that was the thing I heard. Oh my gosh, he said, "Let me out of my cage."
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense because Luke has been telling him, "Go in your cage." And I'm like, can you not say that?
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna think we're terrible parents. Like,
Right.
Don't tell your 2-year-old brother to go in his cage.
Yeah. I know. He tells his teacher now that he's in public school.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Teacher's going to call CYFD on us. And
I know, probably.
Whole 9 yards.
Like, show us that cage you keep your 2-year-old in. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
the baby cage.
Yeah. So, it's Sunday morning. Lindsay's yawning. I guess we're going to wrap it up. Okay.
No, what?
It was good to... I'm just kidding. You're just like yawning. I thought you were bored.
No, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of having kids in my bed every night. It really disrupts like heavy sleep patterns.
This too shall pass. That's your favorite quote according to that article you sent out. I thought that was funny because I thought you hate that that quote. The EMFP.
I'm an ENFP.
Things that ENFPs like.
Yeah, that's a good quote to remind yourself. But
Is that from the Enneagraph?
I'm not sure. It's the Myers-Briggs.
Enneagraph?
It's
Myers-Briggs?
Myers-Briggs personality types.
Okay. I heard a podcast with this guy who was talking about the Enneagraph.
Uh-huh.
It's like 9 points and like 9 personalities or whatever. Looks like a pentagram, their symbol.
Oh,
But
really?
but Christians are all about it.
How
They were
creepy.
talking about that.
Conspiracy, maybe? I'm just kidding.
Who knows? There's a podcast I listen to called Don't Feed the Trolls.
Yeah.
I think they're on a hiatus right now, but one of the guys in the podcast he's a conspiracy theorist, like hardcore.
I love listening to conspiracy
It's kinda
theorists
funny.
because some of them I'm like, okay, like I get how you got there, but then
It's
other
one of those
ones, I'm
things like you can't.
what?
It's like ideas that you can't really disprove, but you can't really prove either,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of bogus.
I was watching some show, maybe it was Doomsday Preppers randomly. I've never really watched that show, but like, I don't know. I think I watched like one episode a couple weeks
No,
ago.
Luke.
Just because I didn't know what the hype was about. And it was a guy, and he lives in Texas, and he bought this like old radio station and turned it into this like lockdown facility, but it's his house. It's really beautiful inside. But like his theories about all this stuff
Were they made of
kinda
like the
nuts.
old shipping containers, the train shipping containers?
No, they weren't. It was, I don't know, he had some reinforcement type situation there, but it was pretty crazy. But now he's selling it, and I'm like, so do you really like believe your theories, or like were you just like out on a limb there, and then you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong. Somebody buy this.
If it was the end of the world, nuclear fallout,
Yeah.
China, North Korea, Russia, like start bombing the United States with nuclear blasts, would you feel safe going to that fort we went to?
Fort Stanton?
No, the one in Lincoln County.
Yes, that's Fort Stanton.
Fort Stanton. Would you feel safe going there?
No.
It's isolated.
Yeah, but it's not about isolation. If it's a nuclear fallout, you need to worry about radiation and
Okay.
wind patterns.
Never mind. You just totally trashed my.
No, I'm just saying it would be a matter of trying to stay away from radiation. Right?
Okay.
No,
So we would just be dead.
I don't know.
Okay.
I hope not, but I mean,
Good times.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Well, you asked the question. I was answering it like that was what came to mind.
If there was like a war happening and
okay.
missiles were being blasted, like, would you feel safe going to Fort Stanton?
Without radiation in the air?
I guess.
What? This is a viable question.
Okay, I'm gonna get coffee.
Yeah, maybe get a big cup. You're kind of cranky. I don't know how this is making you cranky right now. Yes, I would probably feel safe going to Lincoln County. It's out of the way. in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. In fact, I think on our Instagram I put like a little snippet of a video of like it was just like this old abandoned house and the wind blowing, and it was like very country-ish. That was Lincoln County. There's not a whole lot there. And there's this giant fort. There's Fort Stanton, and it's abandoned now, but it's a museum. It's like kind of they're doing a rehabilitation project and trying to make it kind of up to par, but they have barracks and they have all these really cool buildings, and it's an old fort. It's been around since the 1800s. So we checked that out last time we were there, and it's pretty cool. I think you would be safe-ish if you went there to live, like minus radiation and stuff like that. You'd be safe because there's not a whole lot going on out there.
I think natural resources.
Yeah. I mean, it is
There's
a self-sustained property.
I mean,
so.
people. I mean, I'm just thinking it was a fort at one point.
Right.
People survived.
Right.
They could, maybe farm and hunt or raise some livestock or something.
Oh, definitely, you could do that out there.
And it's in the middle of stinking nowhere, so like nobody really knows where you are. Although it is on the way to Ruidoso, and a lot of Texans go there, so maybe they would figure it out.
If Texas ever secedes from the United States, we'd have to worry about being taken over, probably.
It was funny too when we were in Ruidoso. You see these trucks flying Confederate flags, and then just a few miles away is Fort Stanton, a Union fort, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's confusing. It was a confusing time. How did the broom get in the trampoline? That's new.
Ready. So, anyway, that was...
I feel like, honestly, if I was going to go the route of trying to get away from, like, a bunch of people and live in seclusion, I would head to, like, Las Vegas, New Mexico, like, up to Montezuma in the mountains. Partly because there's one road in, one road out, which could be good or bad, I guess, depending on how you look at that. But again, it was a hotel back in the 1800s, and it's a camp now. It's a Christian camp. But they have a stock of food. They have a lumber mill up there. They have enough to survive. They have, nature, and they have water, and they have lots of different things that would make it really easy for you to live up there and not have to come down the mountain. So
right.
I'd just become a hermit, probably, on the mountain.
I would actually love that. If we were safe, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, terror is not fun.
Like,
but
we are such creeps. Like, why are we...
I would just love to just not have to worry about a job or a mortgage or bills or anything like that. And if I could just be on land, and if I had some books, and if I had you and the kids and maybe one other family so we can like hang out, I think that would be awesome.
You would hope that we would like that other family and that we would get along.
I'm
right?
sure we would get along.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, then...
There are two really cool houses up there. The caretakers of the property, they get to live in these like amazing giant
I would just love to
mountain cabins.
To grow a crop for food, raise some chickens, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And read books and talk about theology like all the time.
I would definitely have lots of campfires and lots of hammocks. Like,
yes.
That's what I would do. I'd have a
the
hammock
winters
for
would
sure.
be pretty awful up in the mountains, but...
Well... Maybe, but I think you'd be cozy. You'd have the ability to make it cool.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about El Porvenir, and I'm just going to tell this fun story because I love it. So there's this trail, and it goes up to this peak. And this is our life. I like when our 2-year-old picks up dog poop in the yard and says, dog poop. And we're like, oh my gosh. Wash your hands really well, please. Oh my gosh. When you're like 20 and you think about like, oh, I can't wait to have a family. You think about that little picket fence and that house and those cute little kids and all the family photos. And then you realize your kid's over here picking up dog poop and you're like, nope, not what I pictured.
I didn't picture that at all.
No.
Maybe I was more prepared than you.
Yeah,
because I pictured...
You're more of a realist than I am.
Yeah.
But anyway... Okay, so El Porvenir is this Christian camp. It's in Montezuma, New Mexico. It's close
now everybody knows where you're going to retreat to.
Yeah, well, I may or may not go there. It's by the United World College. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's another interesting story, but I don't
Creepy.
have time to explain it right now.
Freemasons, right?
I think so. I mean, it's not confirmed, but it's like the founder of Arm & Hammer. No, seriously.
That's odd.
I know, it is. It is odd. But this is like, again, back in the 1800s, so he was a businessman with a lot of money, and he may have been a Freemason. I don't know. But the founder of Arm & Hammer made this college, and it's very bizarre. But anyway, you can look it up. So El Porvenir. It used to be a hotel back in the 1800s. That property used to be a hotel. Now it's a Christian camp, and they have bunks and cabins and things. But back in the day, it was a hotel for people going up the mountain. It's called Hermit's Peak. And Hermit's Peak is this high peak. You can hike to it. I've never actually done the hike. My brother's done it several times. There used to be a hermit that lived up there. Go figure.
Legend has it.
No, he really did.
There's a lot of legend built around it, though.
Yeah, but there really was a guy living up there.
I know.
Okay.
My dad told me that when I was like 8.
Well, yeah, this is back in the 1800s. It was a long time ago. And you can take this trail, and it used to be a mule trail, I think, up the mountain, up Hermit's Peak. And the crazy thing is my brother worked as a counselor for summer camps there in high school and a little bit of college. And there's this trail, and you can go, and there's this random apple tree, like growing on this trail in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. And literally somebody back in the day ate an apple, chucked the core, and it grew this apple tree on the side of the trail. And I think that's awesome.
Is that legend or is that fact?
That's fact. And the other thing that's kind of crazy, and the reason we speculate all this Freemason stuff is
Is a cemetery.
Yeah.
Or graveyard. It's like 3 graves.
It's like a couple, but it's literally like my brother was like, hey, do you want to see something crazy? And we were like, sure. So we went hiking, and we're on the trail, and then all of a sudden he veers off, like in this V, and we're like, where are you going? And he's like, just follow me. And we go, and in the middle of the woods, off the trail, in the middle of nowhere, there is like a Freemason cemetery. It's very strange. It's like in the middle of nowhere in the woods. So that's kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. So yeah, we checked that out. And so people have been surviving and living up there and doing things for a long time. So I think we'd probably be okay.
Wonderful summers, hard winters.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you have a lot of wood and a shelter, I think you would be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you ever heard of a bug out bag?
No.
No?
No.
You haven't?
No. What is it?
A bug out bag is like a lot of those prepper people will have a bag of essentials that you can grab and go like at a moment's notice.
Wow, you are a conspiracy theorist.
I just do my research. No, it's like you have some water, you have matches, it's like a waterproof bag. You have like supplies, and it's basically like if something were to happen, it's a bag that you and your family could grab, and you would just grab it and go.
It sounds like if you're a camper, like a real camper, like I wish our family was.
Rub it in some more.
You could have like a plastic bin full of all your camping stuff that you just pop in your car, and you go.
That's essentially what it is, yeah.
So you would have like camping pots and pans, camping utensils, maybe some paper plates, paper cups, like everything you need for a camping trip. You have this in a big bin, like it's ready to go.
Yeah, that's exactly what a bug out bag is. I just learned that from the show, honestly. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I think it would be helpful for anybody, you know, just to have a bag of like essentials if you had to evacuate somewhere or you were in an emergency and you had it. That's good.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have enough food for like 3 days.
Right.
For an entire family, and then like, you know.
Yeah.
So, a tarp. I don't know. I don't remember what all's in there, but
Just stuff for living.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So before the podcast, we were talking about the Bible, and there were some thoughts like, oh, maybe people don't want to hear about the Bible, which I agree. But you know, some people might not. That's fine. But I was thinking, what?
Bug out bags, Bibles, Battlestar Galactica.
I've just been having this on my mind for the last couple of weeks.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's funny because you weren't really involved in our community group discussion, but we were talking about.
No, I was cleaning up a dirty diaper.
We were talking about, well, the sermon last week, or teaching, or message, or whatever you want to call it, was about truth. And this came up in one of my classes too. Like, what is truth?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much. Like, is truth something that has to be written down? Not really. Does that have to be written down in a book? You have a pine cone. Good job. Riley just brought us a pine cone.
Better than dog poop.
Do you have? I mean, if you write it in a book, does that make it truth? Like, if it's in the Bible, does that make it truth? There's a lot of questions, and that's one thing that I've been kind of just wondering about is just truth, and that's crazy because that's what we were talking about last week, and it's just all over the place. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
I always think of the phrase like holding these truths self-evident. I feel like truth explains itself. Like truth is evident in itself. You don't have to explain it. Truth doesn't need you to justify or explain it because it's going to be evident.
Right.
I mean, that's my thought process. And whether or not people take that into consideration, I don't know. But
yeah,
it's just interesting to think about that.
There's just a lot of people today that are saying that they have truth. You know what I mean? And
I think people get confused though. Like, a lot of people will say that what they feel is true. And you can't base truth on your feelings. So if it feels good and it makes you feel good, then it must be the truth, right? But I think that's where humanity is a little flawed.
And how do you test your truth?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do you even want to test your truth?
Well, you might be disappointed in
Like,
what you think it actually is.
Think about Christians. It's almost looked at as like, is that word heretical? Heretical, yeah. Heretical to test your faith. I mean, it's looked at as heretical to test your faith, right? So why would you test it? Because if the culture is going against, like, you shouldn't question the Bible. You shouldn't question things. But how do you test your truth?
But again, if it's truth, it will be self-evident, and your tests will prove to be like proof of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But there's people in a lot of the other religions that won't test their truth. Like, we saw Jehovah's Witnesses walking down the street yesterday.
Careful.
And
that looks like a terrible idea.
They have the truth. You know what I mean? You get uncomfortable when we talk about religion. I can totally tell.
No, it's not that. It's that I'm watching our 5-year-old jump on a trampoline with a broom.
No, but you kind of do, don't you?
No.
A little bit?
Not really. I went to Bible college.
Okay.
I mean, like, I don't get uncomfortable with religion. I'm trying to have a deep thought, and I'm also watching our kids, like, destroy things. And
I'm sorry. This has just been on my mind for a while.
It's fine. It's fine.
So, and it's hard for me to articulate, like, what's on my mind, too, sometimes. But...
Yeah.
But we were talking, I mean, you were running around during the discussion.
Not by choice.
I know. I wanted to help out too, but that's kind of like what our thought is. And I brought up some questions too. I'm like, well, what if there's a lot of people who think something's true and it's true to them, right? Like, so Mormons have the truth according to them, but according to people who are outside of the Church of Latter-day Saints, like, look at them as they don't have truth. They believe some weird version of Christianity.
They're also not allowed to test their truth. Mormons are discouraged from reading anti-Mormon literature, anti-Mormon movies.
So are Christians, though.
I think so, but I would say that even in Mormon authority, it's a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Christians don't do the same thing.
It's more stated. And
it's more just like you don't.
And
do
if
that.
you're like an evangelical Christian, it's more of kind of
a suggestion.
It's unsaid but known.
Right.
I read a Richard Dawkins book, and he's like the biggest anti-Christian, like, evangelist there is. And seriously, if people knew I read that book, I think that they would disapprove.
But the thing is, if God is who he says he is, and you truly believe that, then reading a book of an opposing opinion should not shake you.
Right.
It should just make you see, like, where other people are coming from.
And I think that if you're going to be reading stuff that goes against whatever your faith is, that you should read it. Okay, so here's an example. I talked about this in one of the last podcasts, but I took human evolution class in college, and I took it so that I can disprove evolution. Like, I was that.
You were that guy?
I was that guy. I was
Oh,
that.
man.
I was that prideful too. I was like, some just college kid, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to disprove a scientific theory.
How ambitious of you.
Yeah.
I don't
by
know that I
taking a
would have
class.
liked you back then. I might have kind of been a little antagonistic of you, actually.
Yeah.
But
So, and by the way, a theory in science is not like, oh, I teach this to my kids. A theory in science is not just like a theory. Like I have a theory that, like a guess, you know what I mean?
thank you, Luke.
It's supported by a lot of research, by a lot of scientists that have been tested over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Dude, our 5-year-old's killing it over there.
sweeping.
Good work, dude.
So-
Thank you. Gold star
I
for
went
you
into
today.
I went into something like thinking that I'm like I went in with a bias, right?
I also
so-
feel like there's a little bit of arrogance there, though.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
But I think that so if you're going to test your truth, you should go in with kind of an open mind. You hear that all the time, open mind, have an open mind.
That's impossible.
It's hard to do
it's
because
impossible to do.
you're gonna have a bias no matter what.
Everybody has a
but-
cultural lens through which they see the world based on how you were raised, your religion,
But you should be open.
your experiences.
You should be open to other ideas because you're right. If the truth is self-evident, then you won't get stuck in just being in a tribal kind of thought process.
Tribalism is strong, though. People forget that. Like, how you're raised and who you surround yourself with and where you were educated and the type of education you got and the style of education. I mean, all of that is a factor in how you see things. You have a lens, and it's interesting because every single human being on this planet has their own unique lens that they see things through and that they experience things through. And if you pair that with human emotion and how you feel, it can get really crazy because you're not going to have somebody who sees something the exact same all the time, and you're going to have a difference in what truth looks like and how it's acted out, and morals and values and right and wrong and normal and not normal. I mean, it's there. You could go on and on, but everybody has their own unique lens, and it's formed by a lot of different things. It can even be formed with, like, were you the firstborn child? Were you the secondborn? Like, birth order. I know that I see the world a lot differently than my brother, who was, he was a baby for a while, and then he was a middle child because we adopted my sisters. So my brother and I see the world very differently. Our perspective of how we handle things and how we see things is very different. Lorenzo and I think we're both firstborns, so it's kind of crazy because I think it's funny that we're married because we butt heads a lot. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that we're both oldest children.
Yeah.
And we're used to taking on a certain role. And it's funny because my parents are both middle children.
So are you talking about truth?
I'm talking about how
Your tribalism?
Well, everybody has a lens, and it's a very unique lens with which they see the world, right? Mm-hmm. And it's based on how they were raised. It's based on a lot of different factors. And so nobody is going to see truth the exact same way, because when you pair that with emotions and how something makes you feel in your own personal experiences, there's no way to really, for one person or one group of people, define absolute truth. Unless it is absolute truth and it's evident despite all of those factors. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's a lot to think about, I think, but sorry, we're doing some damage control. Our dogs are just really needy this morning. And our kids are playing with trucks, so that's cool. But
so
it's one of those things.
So I listen to a lot of podcasts that they don't outright say this is the truth, but they're having discussions about a lot of things. And so I'll just tell you the podcast I listen to. I listen to Bad Christian. Mm-hmm. Luke, make sure that Penny doesn't eat Riley's toast, please. Riley's enjoying his buttery toast, and the dogs are kind of swarming him. But I listen to the Bad Christian podcast, which not a lot of people can handle because they're pretty crude. They use language, you know what I mean? And I don't mind the language. I don't really care. I try not to use language, but I do. You know what I mean?
Can I side note that?
Sure.
The reason that it's not that I can't stand them. Every once in a while I can listen to them, and I think they have valid things to say. For me, though, like listening to them, the reason I get frustrated is because the way they approach it is like, this is the answer and I know it, and everybody else is kind of stupid.
Do they though?
Sometimes.
I think they just discuss, and I think they're just kind of trying to work things out.
Maybe,
like,
but
as they talk.
Sometimes the tone they take is a little bit much.
Abrasive?
For me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. No, they are kind of forward, but they balance each other out, too. There's 3 guys on there. There's Toby, he's kind of the loud one, I guess, and the opinionated one.
Who's the heartthrob?
Oh, I don't know. They're all kind of heartthrobs.
I mean, if they were a boy band, like who would be the Justin Timberlake of the crew?
They're all 3 kind of Timberlake-esque in their own way.
I'm just kidding.
And then there's Joey Svensson. He's the pastor, and he kind of brings balance to things. He's kind of like a little bit more calm, and also provides some like comedic relief, I guess. And then there's Matt, he's like the logical one. You know what I mean? He's grounded. He bases everything in like facts. He like brings people back. Like
it's kind of like Ghostbusters. It's like Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, and then Harold Ramis' character,
right.
who's just like
right
always doing the factual stuff. You know, Egon.
Mm-hmm. But
they're kind of like that.
They have good discussions, right?
I'm sorry.
By the way, the Ghostbusters, when I was a kid, what was his name? Lord something? The painting? Zool. Terrified me.
Yeah, me too.
And when they stole the baby.
Oh man, that was some creeptastic stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, so they just have discussions, right? They just talk. And that's like my crew, right? I listened to Emery in like in the mid 2000s, you know, I was into screamo emo stuff. Like they were not my favorite band, but I definitely enjoyed them. And I'm like with that scene, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they interview a lot of guests that I enjoy. Like interviewed Stephen Christian from Amberlin, Mike Carrera from MXPX, like all the Tooth and Nail people.
You love Mike Carrera, you love him.
I love MXPX. Like MXPX,
who's that?
They're a band.
Our 5-year-old, who's that?
So pre-MXPX, I was listening to Michael W. Smith and the Newsboys and DC Talk, and
lately you've been really like upfront about that. I'm so proud of you.
That was just my thing. I was a youth group kid, and I was like hardcore evangelical little boy. You know what I mean?
Audio Adrenaline in concert.
I used to love Audio Adrenaline. I never saw them. Never saw DC Talk, but I did see Carmen.
Oh wow!
In Tingley Coliseum.
In person?
It was free in person.
Wow!
Yeah. They even had dancers.
Did he descend from the clouds and strike Satan down in a cowboy hat?
No, but I think during the concert, started talking about how he started to. Anyway, it was whatever. But MXPX, they got me into like good music.
Yeah.
They're a band, Luke. Luke's asking us where MXPX is.
Do you want to move to Bremerton?
They just discuss things on the podcast. They just, and they call things out, like flaws of the church, and they may be right and they may be wrong about the way they handle it, but they definitely take on those issues, and I like that because these are questions that I've had, even before the podcast. These are questions that I've had, and they're like airing them.
Yeah. Christians
don't do that, and that's what they're doing. So there's them, and then
they're usually pretty concerned with pleasing the mass opinion.
Yeah. And then there's this other podcast I listen to, and this is kind of feeding a bias because I lean left. Mm-hmm. Like I tend to lean left, social justice, like sort of ways. You know what I mean?
Same here.
I'm not like my tendency is for the greater good. You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to pay taxes to help somebody out or whatever. And if there's waste, that's just something that happens. But are my taxes helping people? That's fine. I'm willing to have my taxes go towards education, towards public safety, towards, whatever. And I realize that there's waste in government, whatever. I don't really care. But I lean left. So they kind of feed my bias. They don't lean left. They are crazy left. They're like hardcore left. Like it's Michael Gungor, who used to be a worship leader for a big mega church. Now he's in Gungor, and then they do the podcast. But they talk a lot about spirituality, and they're Christians. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people who are Christians would not look at them as Christians.
Yeah,
they're good friends with Rob Bell, and if you know Rob Bell, like he he was okay when the Pneuma series came out, like when you were in Bible college.
Yeah.
But then he started to get a little bit kind of
controversial.
People look at him as like being off track when he started to write a couple of his books, Velvet Elvis, and then Love Wins came out, and that was just like, that was the end. Love Wins was that's when everybody wrote him off in the evangelical world. And now he's writing a book on the Bible, but he has these thoughts. They have these thoughts and these ideas. They're all about like Black Lives Matter, and homosexuality is totally legit. Like you can have a gay woman pastor at your church, and it's all good, right? Everything is permissible, sort of deal. Mm-hmm. I'm boring you right now, but these are just things that are on my mind. So in my mind, I'm like, oh man, that sounds good. And then they start talking about hell, not just the liturgist, but Joey Svensson from Bad Christian. They're talking about hell, like, is hell a real place? And is God going to send people to hell forever to burn for eternity because they didn't believe in Him? Is God gonna send the Indian teenage boy to prison? Not to prison. What is it called? Hell.
Whoa.
Is God gonna send that boy to hell because he was born in a Hindu family? And yeah, he heard about Christianity someplace, but he's just going with his tribe, right? Just like I'm going with my Christian tribe. Is God going to send that kid to hell? Mm-hmm. Because he didn't respond to an altar call? You know what I mean? So
I think altar calls are something that only really truly exist in Western culture.
No, they do. Just like, Gary had an altar call. We talked about Gary last podcast. So these are some things that, I've been thinking about. And, churches will not even talk about hell unless it's the idea that hell is a real place, and if you don't accept God, you're going to burn there forever. Mm-hmm. Torment. Like, man, that does not jive with like what I think of as the character of God and Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. So are we making people uncomfortable, you think? Does it matter?
No, I don't know.
You just seem really bored.
I'm not bored. It's just a lot to think about, and I like to have time to really marinate on things and think about them thoughtfully.
Yeah.
I don't want to say something that is like shotgun.
Yeah.
Can you grab our daughter, please? She's gonna fall on the pavement. My goodness. No, I do think about these things also. I guess I just think about them in a different way. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's a lot to think about, and I need to take more time.
Well, sometimes like the way I think about things is just talking about them out loud.
That's where we're different. I need time to like go inside myself and inside my own head and really ponder them.
Good luck. You have 3 kids.
Quietly. Yeah, no kidding.
But
what?
Mm-hmm. So they talk about the idea of hell, and then there's some things that people talk about with annihilationism, or I think it's called substitutionary atonement. And then there's a really extreme viewpoint that some people hold, that is basically that since God is all powerful, God gets what He wants, and He loves everybody, so He will give opportunities to people to be redeemed. You know what I mean? Like everybody. But anyway.
Wow, that's our 1-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fun, Juliet? It's hot. I don't want to lean back on the swing because I'm in the sun.
Okay.
That's the difference between you and I, by the way, when we podcast. You're
What?
very you get very demanding about how I do things and how I respond, and like.
I'm not demanding. Sometimes I just want to talk about. I mean, you're kind of more happy-go-lucky sort of thing. Like you want to joke around, and I want to get. Sometimes I want to get into nitty-gritty stuff. You know.
Well,
what I
I
mean?
do too, but you can't like force that. That's not something that can be forced.
I'm not forcing it. It's just coming out. But I'll stop talking about it.
No, it's not that. You're just kind of bossy sometimes.
Sorry. Okay, sorry about the awkward pause there. We had to do a marriage reset and put a baby to have put our 1-year-old down for a nap. But yeah, that's marriage. Sometimes we are co-podcasters, but we are also married, and sometimes we have disagreements. And
You probably don't want to hear us sort out those disagreements
no,
on
not
the podcast.
not on the
all the
podcast.
time, so.
I mean, we'll be open about our disagreements because even though sometimes we record our really good conversations and it sounds like we get along all the time, we don't.
Sometimes I'm rolling my eyes and going,
Yeah. But maybe that's the appeal of our podcast, is that we're kind of upfront about our annoyance with each other.
But I think that we need to try not to be like toxic, because I'm sure people that are listening that are married, like they have enough of their own stuff that's going on. They don't need to hear ours,
Yeah. Well, we're
like airing
definitely
your
not
dirty
perfect,
laundry.
like at all.
I got my little boys last night. I went to the grocery store and they had these like Kinder eggs in the checkout line, and it was a total it was totally an impulse.
Here's a gun.
Cool, dude. It's Luke Skywalker. It was totally an impulse buy, but it was like these $1 Kinder eggs, so I got them Kinder eggs, and now they're like all stoked about chocolate and surprises.
Right. But yeah, it's Riley has the egg, or Luke has the egg. So yeah, a quick reset. We'll stop talking about theology and talk about more lighthearted things.
Well, it's not that I dislike the theology conversations. It puts me in a weird spot. And I'll be honest, I work at a Christian nonprofit, and while I have my own opinions about theology and I would love to share them, I also realize that sometimes my work life and my personal life overlap, and I don't want to it's not that I don't want to offend people, because I could care less about offending people, but I also think because of my job, I need to be really discerning about how much and what.
That's
Does that
fair.
make sense?
That's fair.
Yeah.
So we're figuring things out, as humans. We're figuring out our faith. We're figuring out what truth is. We're figuring out parenting. We're figuring out marriage. There's no more egg, buddy. Here's a comic book though. Look
Cool.
at those. Look at those. Go show Lukey. So
And
we're figuring out 3 really important things right now in our lives:
faith, parenting, marriage.
faith, parenting, and marriage. Those are huge.
Not to mention balancing of everyday life, which
Balancing
is
of everyday life, like paying bills on top of all that.
I'm taking a class. I'm auditing a class actually, through work, and it's a financial class, but it's biblically based. It's not like Dave Ramsey or anything like that. It's called it's through Coach Financial. So I'm just gonna give them a little shout out. It's Coach KOACH here in Albuquerque. They used to be True North Financial. It is a really good class. They have an app to help you kind of get your budget sorted out and balanced. It does the math for you. I would suggest it. It's free to anybody. So go to their website and check it out. It's incredible. I'm learning a lot, actually. And I hate money. I hate numbers. I hate finances. I hate budgets. So the fact that I'm saying this is kind of huge because I hate that stuff.
She does.
Yeah.
I do the budgets.
And I actually look forward to going to the class, which is
Yeah.
hilarious, actually.
I am so happy you're going to that class. Because these are concepts and ideas that I'm familiar with, because I deal with them every week. You know what I mean? When I'm doing budgets. I have a spreadsheet going. I know what needs to happen financially. It's just, being on the same page with my spouse is the hardest spot. You know what I mean? And I justify some spending and you justify some spending. We disagree on that spending sometimes.
I think we justify it in different places, and that's
Yeah.
what causes some friction.
Yeah. You justify a $5 cup of coffee. I justify a $5 6-pack of craft brew.
Yeah.
That's actually not 5, but more like 10. But
Yeah.
I'll justify some sort of tech, something or other. Like in my mind already, before the iPhone was announced, I was like, man, I've had my iPhone 6S for 2 years. It's time to get a new one. I'm gonna buy a new one. But now after it was released, I'm like, I don't think I want it anymore. It's $1,000. It's a departure from the iPhone, no more home button. Screen's nice. It has this weird notch in it. Good camera, all that good stuff. But I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna get it. I was watching old videos of Steve Jobs last night.
Oh, huh.
Like him presenting the original MacBook Air.
I feel like I was drifting into sleep when that was happening because I vaguely remember hearing it and being like, what is he watching? And then I was out.
Yeah.
So.
Man, it's so awesome watching him demo like the first iPhone. Like they were so, it was so awesome to them to kind of be able to have turn-by-turn navigation on a phone. Like he was demoing maps, and I was like, whoa, that's like everyday life right now. But this at the time was like huge.
It was like groundbreaking.
Or yeah, it was like, yeah, super groundbreaking. Or the ability to add a website to your home screen, which is a feature your iPhone has today, even still in Safari, but nobody uses. It was huge to them back then. So,
well, that was really the transition between like a desktop to like, wow, I have a real computer in my pocket.
Yeah.
Like I don't even need a desktop. I don't even need a laptop.
Right.
I don't
Now everybody has a computer in the pocket, and it's marginally getting better each release, right? What was the big selling point for the iPhone 10? It was the Face Unlock. Face Unlock. Do you need Face Unlock? Like you have your Touch ID right now. Touch ID is fantastic. I love it. It's great. Even Touch ID wasn't even that big of a deal, but you went from having no computer in your pocket to having a computer in your pocket.
That can unlock it and recognizes your face.
Right. No, I'm talking about the first keynote.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like before that keynote, you did not have a computer in your pocket. After the keynote, you had a computer in your pocket. And now everybody does.
Yeah.
And now we're like really like we're so hungry for like the next big jump, and there's no more big jumps. That was a big jump. There's no more big jumps. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody will come up with something revolutionary.
I met a lady the other day, and I actually wanted to expand the conversation. I didn't get a chance to. But she was telling me, she said her husband works in LA during the week, and then he's home on weekends. And I said,
was this when you were at the mayoral?
Yeah, and I was
thing?
like, well, what does he do that he works in LA? I was like, is he a musician? Is he in, like, does he have an agent? Is he like in TV or movies or something? And she was like, no, he works in AI. And the conversation just kind of stopped. And I was like, I don't even know like what to ask her at this point. Like AI is a pretty broad topic. But I was like, that's crazy. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what is coming?
Yeah. Well, think about this. So I'm talking about, I'm in my ecology unit at school. So we're talking about populations of species, right? And then that led us to the conversation of population of our species, Homo sapiens, humans, and in China. So in China, a long time ago, I don't know the exact year, but they were running out of resources, food and housing, so they implemented a one-child rule. You can only have one baby. So that caused all kinds of issues, right? There were more women than men because... Oh, no, hang on. There were more men than women because if you found out you were pregnant with a girl, they would have an abortion. Sometimes the government would even force them to, I guess. So the ratio was like 120 to 100, right? And we were talking about that. So now the end result is the population is aging in China. There are more people over the age of 60 than there ever has been. The problem with that is that the workforce is very old. You can't have laborers. You can't have like a 70-year-old person like working at a restaurant, like taking your order at McDonald's. I mean, you could, but they wouldn't do it as well. There's all sorts of jobs that are not being filled because of population.
Technology.
Yeah. So one of the solutions that we were reading about in my class was autonomy and AI. China's doing. So if you think about McDonald's, like you have a touch screen, you can pick your burger, you can pick your side or whatever, and not only is it easier and you don't have to worry about filling that job because your workforce is so old, but it's going to be more accurate than if you had some teenager filling your order, right?
You're not going to have to pay for insurance either. You're not going to have to pay for all these little things that...
Right. So this is something that's happening...
A pear.
What, Riley?
I say, open dinosaurs egg otherwise.
Oh, that's nice. He said something about dinosaur egg.
I know, it's a dinosaur egg, huh?
So that's happening in China because they have to. Of course it's going to happen in the United States, right? So I don't
Probably
know.
like 15 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just, yeah, there's going to be jobs where people are going to be phased out. I mean, they're even looking at trucking at this point. Like they said next year, like they're going to have self-driving semi-trucks.
They have self-driving trucks in Europe already.
But here, I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Like next
Here,
year.
I think it's going to be a little bit harder here because you'd have to get the approval from the American public, and that's something that, I mean, if you ask anybody, like, would you be okay with a self-driving semi-truck driving down the interstate? Me, I would say, yeah, I'm okay with that because I would rather have a computer drive a truck than a human.
Especially in New Mexico. Sorry.
I got a Patasaurus.
Cool, dude.
And this is the Patasaurus.
That's an apatosaurus?
Yeah.
What do you know about the apatosaurus?
That they're bigger than a Brachiosaurus, kind of. Wait, no, longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to open it.
Yeah.
They won't open it. And the Patasaurus are the smallest.
Yeah.
It's really thin.
Right. Somebody's smoking a cigarette close to our, I think it might be our
They
neighbors.
won't open it.
It's just very strong, though.
It's very strong. Maybe in the alley there or something. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Gross, dude. I don't want to smell it.
You know, it smells like cigarette smoke in our backyard. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I was talking to my kids about, like I was just preparing them. I'm like, robots are going to be a thing, a reality for you guys. Like, if it's not sooner, it might be later, but it's going to happen. And one of my kids automatically brought up, but what if they turn on us, like Terminator? I'm like, you know Terminator? Like, you were born in 2002 and you know Terminator?
Well, their parents.
Yeah.
Crazy. I know. It's just strange to think about, but I don't know. The world is changing rapidly. Technology's changing rapidly, and
Yeah.
I don't know, but we were talking about budgets, and I'm trying to really figure out, like, that balance.
Yeah.
Especially with kids. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a mental health budget in there for yourself as a parent, you know?
Right. I think we're on the same page with that. I mean, it's nice to go to, like, the Quarter Celtic here in town and grab one of the beers and, you know, stray away from your diet for a little bit just to kind of enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I'm a little scared. Your parents want to go to the fair today,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to go because I'm afraid I'm going to eat, like, way too much food. That's not good for me.
Yeah. Well, you can do a turkey leg.
Yeah. I could do a turkey leg, and those are delicious.
Totally ketogenic. But, yeah.
When I first moved here,
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, like, what are those giant, like, drumsticks that people are eating everywhere? Like, they're all over the place, and it looked so weird to me. And now I'm like, oh, turkey legs. But, like, it's like a thing here. But other places, I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Kind of caveman.
It's very weird. I just remember thinking, like, what is that? Like, I don't know.
Actually, wonder, what do they do with the rest of the turkey?
Who knows?
Like, you just have a bunch of turkey legs, and they got to do something with that.
Well, they probably do, but what it is, we'll never know. Maybe we don't want to know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've been watching the show 6 Feet Under on HBO.
Yeah, it has the guy from Dexter.
Yeah, but it was like in 2002 is when it came out, I think, or 2003.
You've been watching it, not me.
Yeah, it's just funny because I'm like, wow, I was really late to the jump on that one. But I'm really enjoying it.
I've never even heard of that show.
I remember hearing about it a long time ago, and I've been wanting to watch it for a while, and I'm finally watching it, and it's getting really good. I'm just, a couple years late.
Sounded like it was getting pretty racy last night.
Well, It's interesting, though, because HBO seems to be like, yes, they do get racy, but they also seem to bring in topics that are relevant when the shows are being filmed in like a roundabout way.
So I know how you feel right now. Like when I start talking about keynotes with Steve Jobs, I could see you checking out.
Oh. Okay.
When you start talking about HBO, I'm checking out, but I want to be engaged.
Okay, well, that makes it difficult because now I'm not sure what to say. I will tell you that, and I love my mom, but yesterday I checked out big time.
You guys were shopping for home goods. That's like me every time we go shopping for home goods.
Well, no, here's the thing. I like going shopping. I like looking at things for my house, okay? I went with my mom yesterday to the home store because they just got, what is that stuff called?
Hardwoods?
Not hardwoods,
Like
but
laminate?
Laminate, yeah, put into their
Hard
one
floors.
of their rooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom wanted to get some accent pieces for the room. And I was with her, and she just kept comparing shades of green.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, just like, Mom, it's green. Like, pick one. It's green.
See, I think me and your mom might have the exact same personality.
Really?
I think
That's why we butt heads
I
so much.
bet you anything, if your mom took a personality test and I took a personality test, we'd be exactly the same.
That says a lot about our relationship right now.
Because that's totally something I would do.
Well, she was like, is this more of a lime green or is this a sage green? I think
Yes.
sage green would be more, but what about the accents on the rug? I feel like this picks up more on the pillows, and I'm like, I don't... What?
See, that's something that I would care. I totally care about details like that. And
I don't.
it's so hard for me to make a decision.
Yeah. She was like, literally, like, and it was funny because I was pulling out these giant rugs. Like, I was literally, like, putting some muscle into it, like, pulling out these huge rugs, and I'm like, ugh, and I'm, like, pulling these rugs out, and she's like, no, I don't know if I like that one. So I'm, like, pushing it back, and I'm like, holy crap, woman, pick a rug.
You should have your mom take the personality test.
I
I don't know how much stock I put in those personality tests, truthfully. But
They're scientifically based. There's, like, 100-question inventory.
yeah.
I've taken it 3 times over 3 different parts of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I took it once when I was a teenager, once in my 20s, and once in my 30s, and I got the same thing every time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think your mom and I share a similar personality, and you and your dad share a personality.
Mm-hmm.
But your mom and dad make it work really well. You and your mom, you guys have your times.
Mm-hmm.
And me and you,
someone
we
else
have our
has.
times. So,
Yeah. I just don't see the world the same way that she does, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because you could tell the difference in our personalities yesterday shopping.
Yeah.
I'm like, green is green is green, pick one.
Right.
Like, if you don't like it, you can always bring it back.
right?
Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Like, let's move on. And my mom was pondering, like, sage green over lime green over fern green, and I'm just like,
Talk about green real quick. I'm going to check on Riley.
I don't know if I can talk about green this much. No, it was just very funny because I'm very impatient too. So I was just like, okay, we've been here an hour, let's go. And my mom's like, well, I picked the other one. And I'm like, okay, whatever, just pick a rug. It's fine. If you don't like it, you can bring it back. But that's not how she functions. She's very detail oriented. She needs to know the right shade of green. She needs to know if it'll match everything else, like the curtains and the and the chairs and the other pillows on the couch. And I'm just like, I don't care. It's fine. Make it work. Lorenzo is like that a lot too. He's very detail oriented, and I'm just like, I don't care. It's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine. Whatever you, ow, I just stubbed my toe. Whatever you want to do, So there's a big difference between us and how we handle life and how we see life. Again, that's that lens thing coming back. So
Yeah. We talking about your mom and shades of green and
I
stuff?
was.
Okay.
And then I
So,
stubbed my toe.
I think we should add, I haven't talked to you with this, so maybe it's just a proposition on air.
Oh no.
But I think we should add a What Are You Listening To segment to our podcast, since we both love music.
I think that's cool. I like that.
Yeah?
I like that.
So, you want me to go first, or you?
I'll let you go first.
So, this, because we like to shout out people too, so this is kind of shouting out musicians. Like, we both love art. I love that about us. We both love art.
And music.
Lindsay has let me just say this about my wife.
Okay.
She has a really awesome sense of decoration. She picks really good furniture. She admires antique stuff and really awesome, like, rustic looking stuff. And it's easy not to be that way in New Mexico. Everybody wants southwesterny kind of stuff. I could take or leave the southwesterny stuff, to tell you the truth. Like, if I walk into a southwestern house and there's these beautiful vigas and stuff, I will appreciate the heck out of that. But Lindsay has a really good decoration kind of style.
I like it as an accent, not a theme.
Right. So she picks really cool lamps, really cool furniture, like,
I have a thing for weird lamps,
Yeah.
by the way. That's a thing.
yeah, weird lamps, like antique sort of pieces. She has a really good sense of art, and that's one thing that I love about my wife. In fact, she's making an art piece right now on a big canvas, and I can't wait to see it.
I need to finish it. I would like to give some time to it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm just going to pause on that.
Uh-huh.
you can tell what mood I was in based on where I am in the art because it's all color related, and that has a lot to do with my mood and the music I'm listening to. It all kind of correlates. My brain works that way.
Right.
Everything has there's a line, even if it's hard to understand. It's not always a straight line, but it's a line.
So Lindsay expresses herself in art, in like mixed media. Is that what it's called? Mixed media, kind of Mod Podgy art stuff.
Yeah.
She has a really good sense of like style and like clothing. She had a clothing shop for a while called Atomic Apple Vintage. Is it still open?
No, not right now,
Yeah, but she changed the name of it. What did you change the name of it to?
Consumer Kitsch.
Consumer Kitsch. It's on Etsy.
It's also, I'm on vacation mode. I really do need to dedicate time to get it back up. I'd like to do it. It's a hobby thing.
Right.
I have not had the time to make it what I want it to be, so I haven't done it.
So she picks all these really awesome stuff, and it was going pretty good for a while. She was shipping. She goes to the thrift stores and she finds these really cool clothing pieces, like photographs them really nicely, and then writes a description, presents it really great. She even had like a couple of her friends and even her sister model some of the things, and one of my friends, Joe, modeled the jacket.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, she did really.
That jacket went to Missouri.
Did it?
Yeah.
You sold it? Nice. I think I tried it on. It was too big for me, but
it had big shoulders. The thing with vintage jackets, it's kind of frustrating, is like the length. They'll be big, like bulky big, but the arms will be short, and that's yeah. And I would love to do vintage clothing again. The thing I have, it's like now that I'm working and I'm doing art and I'm doing all this other stuff and I have 3 kids, it's a little bit hard. Vintage clothing is fun, but the legwork to get it sold is a lot. Like you have to photograph it just the right way. You have to sometimes put it, I've noticed that clothing like that sells better when it's on a model. You have to put it on somebody and that sells it better. And then the other thing is measurements. Like it takes a lot of time to do like the measurements, and that's where I'm like hung up. I don't have time to do it.
Yeah. Do you have a tape measure?
Yeah. I do.
So, anyways, a little bit of a tangent there, but yeah, Lindsay, I love her sense of style, her sense of art, and when I first met her, a couple of things that caught me
Oh, jeez.
were her taste in music. So I was like, "Whoa, you like?" You know, if you meet a girl and I'm like, "Hey, what's your?" Like one of the first things I go to is, "Hey, what's your favorite band?" And if she's like, "Oh, you know, I like Stone Sour and Nickelback. You know, I love some Godsmack every once in a while."
I love some Godsmack every once in a while. Please, nobody ever loves some Godsmack ever.
Right. And she's like, "Oh, I have a guilty pleasure. You know, listen to some Michael Jackson here and there, or whatever. You know, just." That's fine. I
do listen to Michael Jackson.
I do love some MJ, but if it's
the kids like Michael Jackson, Riley, get that out.
If it's all just like commercialized, whatever, I'm like, okay.
I just really like Katy Perry.
Yeah.
I feel like she really speaks to me.
Right. But Lindsay was like, "I love Me Without You." I'm like, okay, I'm gonna marry you. And then she's like, "Yeah, I went to Bible college." I'm like, "Oh, she loves the Lord too. Oh man."
She loves the Lord and me without you. What am I gonna do?
So, yeah.
Oh, I almost got kicked out of Bible college, though. I mean.
Yeah, and see, I loved that too. It wasn't like you weren't like I'm like this goody Christian person. You know, you thought for yourself. You loved music and art, and we had conversations, and it was, you know.
Let me just tell you, I wasn't. The Bible college thing, I played a prank with my roommate from Seattle. We played a prank. It was funny.
Of course, it was the Pacific Northwesterners, you rebels.
We actually got called macabre. We were told we had a macabre sense of humor, and it was not appreciated. Those are their words,
I first heard that word macabre when we were watching that show. It's the antique shop that's in Manhattan.
Oh yeah.
What was it called?
I forget. Oh my gosh, I forget.
But they had like old skulls,
like oddities,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that, and then also there was that other show. It was on Netflix. Macabre. They said macabre all the time.
Yeah.
You know what show that was?
I can't remember.
Thinking about.
Was it like Ghost Hunters?
It wasn't Ghost Hunters, but it was like a documentary sort of thing.
With what's his name? Josh something?
It wasn't Josh Garrels, not Josh Garrels.
That's not him.
He's a singer. He's a singer.
Who I would love to see because he's coming to Albuquerque, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out Lauren, let's go.
Yeah. There you go.
No, so, okay. I'm just going to lay it out really quick. So, there was a bunch of girls in our dorm on our floor. It was around Halloween time. They were like, let's watch scary movies. And we were like, yeah, okay. And so they all went and they watched, like, I think it was like Scream or something stupid. I don't remember. And so my roommate and I, like, while they were watching this scary movie, we found this doll. I don't remember where it came from.
Why was there a doll at Bible college?
I literally have no idea. That's the funny part. I don't know. All right, so we find this doll. Don't ask me where it came from. I don't know.
It was provided to you by an angel of the Lord.
Who had a really good sense of humor. And we hung it in the shower. And then we took ketchup and we put handprints all over the shower and we put "You're next."
You should have spelled it "You are."
You are next, like text style.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and we put it in the shower so we could clean it up, like, because it'd be easy, right? But we put "You're next," and we were like, this is going to be so funny. Like, this is going to be so funny. Like, they're going to get done watching this scary movie, and then one of them is going to come in here to take a shower, and then they're going to freak the hell out, because it's going to be hilarious. I totally got the joke, right? So did my roommate. Apparently not everybody thought it was funny. So someone goes in there to take a shower, they freak out, they report it to the RA, who is this, like, really sexually frustrated middle-aged woman who, like, was very uptight and not nice. No, I'm serious. Like, definition of a cat lady without a cat.
Name calling. Hello.
I'm not going to tell you her name. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. We got called into her office. We got yelled at. We had to write a formal apology to the students of Central. Then we had to write a formal apology to the principal or the president of the college. Mm-hmm. We had to sign a contract saying that we realized what we did was terrible and horrible and whatever. And honestly,
really, you are their customer.
Yeah.
You are their customer. They should have, like, thanked you for coming to their college and not making it so uptight.
Well,
like, seriously, like, I would have just, okay, cool, peace. I'm gonna go get a real education.
And then I got in trouble because she said, you need to be sorry, and I said, I'm not sorry. and she said, well, what you did was macabre. That is a sick sense of humor. And I was like, I don't think so. And I said it was a joke, and I'm sorry that it wasn't taken like a joke, but am I sorry for having a sense of humor? No. I'm not sorry for having a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. It was just it was really stupid. Yeah. So yeah, I almost got in trouble, and they basically made me sign something against my will, more or less.
Good times.
Yeah.
So, what are you listening to? So yeah, anyways, my wife has
Thriller. Just kidding.
Yeah. My wife has a good sense of art and a good sense of humor. But yeah, so I am listening to an album called I Quit Church. Mm-hmm. So earlier we were talking about theology in my podcast and all the truth that's swirling, quote unquote truth that's swirling around in my head, and I'm trying to decipher what's truth, what's not. And I'm trying to be open-minded.
Oh,
because,
don't do that to him.
You know, all that good stuff. Okay, you guys are taking a bath. That's okay. I'll give them a bath. They're putting dirt on each other. They're boys, though. So they gotta be boys.
Why don't you just roll around in it?
Go ahead. When I was 13, when I was 13, we had a flood in Moriarty, and there was a big mud pit in the back. And I begged my mom to go play in the mud. I just wanted to go throw mud around, and she would not let me. And I was so upset because I was like, well, I'm about to be an adult pretty soon. I will never ever get to play in the mud ever again.
Little did you know you'd have two boys and you get to play in the mud all the time.
So, anyways, yeah. We were talking earlier about theology and all this other stuff. Well, the guys in Bad Christian Podcast, they are musicians. They're from Emory, the band Emory. But they have a side project called Matt and Toby. So it's Matt and Toby from the podcast. It's called I Quit Church.
You sent me one of the songs.
Yeah. They cover... It's charging inside. Your phone's charging. They cover... I guess, I don't know if you call it cover. Perform, I guess. Old hymns. And I love the old hymns. I do.
I like some of them.
I love the old hymns. But they play the old hymns, and then they have a couple of originals, and it's a really good album. It's called I Quit Church, Matt and Toby. Check that out. I'm also listening to new John Mark McMillan, and he has a story too about Christianity and you know, just questioning questioning what your religion is and what you believe and who is Jesus and what does this all mean and all this, because he does worship. Come here, Luke.
We might have to amputate.
Okay, we have kid stuff, so I'm gonna pause for just a few seconds here. Okay, kid problem solved. They're now hugging.
They're brothers again.
Yeah, so John Mark McMillan, if you want to get to know his backstory, there is an episode on the Bad Christian podcast where they interview John Mark McMillan. Really cool story, and awesome music. He has a unique kind of voice. That's okay, they're just hugging each other.
Hug it out.
So, yeah, John Mark McMillan. I don't know if I can concentrate on anything right now.
Hey, guys, go jump on the trampoline for 5 minutes, and then we're going to go inside, and it's bath time.
Yeah, bath time.
Because you're grubby and dirty.
Yes, indeed.
Covered in mud.
I've also been. I tried so hard to get into Kendrick Lamar, and I did sort of get into To Pimp a Butterfly a little bit. It was so hard for me to get into that album, but I did kind of. But I can't listen anymore. I'm just not a hip hop dude. I don't know. I can't do it.
I like hip hop, but I like certain types. Like I've been listening to Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
He's like this underground hip hop artist. It's Oddisee. Odyssey. One of his older albums, which I really like a lot. That's been on my rotation pretty heavy lately. And then he samples a lot of like old school R&B, and then he samples a lot of oh my gosh.
What?
Not soul. What am I trying to think of?
Motown?
Yes. Thank you. Goodness. Yeah, he samples a lot of Motown in his music, so it's pretty fun. I love when they sample like old school stuff, like a lot. So I've been listening to Odyssey. I like Mac Miller just because I like Mac Miller. It's definitely not good language. And then I listen to Local Natives a lot too. I really, really like their Sunlit Youth album. That's pretty much on my daily rotation. I listen to that a lot. Alt J every once in a while. I have to be in the right mood though for Alt J. And then Portugal the Man, which is funny because we saw them in LA, and ever since then I have heard them everywhere I go. Like I took a hip hop class on Wednesday, and they had like one of the dances was from Alt J. And then I've been throwing back a little bit of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs like this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the album where you see the egg breaking?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Blitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for whatever reason that's one of my favorite albums. I love the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. But again, I go through phases where I listen to them a lot, and then I'll take a break, and then I won't listen to them at all for like a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have been listening for the past year. New Blink-182. It's called California. It has so there's Travis, and I think Tom. And then what's the third one that left?
Oh,
Travis, Tom, and then there's a third one.
oh my gosh,
Mark. So Mark left, but they got Skiba from Alkaline Trio.
Matt
Skiba from Alkaline Trio, and I love Alkaline Trio. So this is like I was like, oh man, it sucks that what's his name left, but now this album is like Blink-182 mixed with Alkaline Trio, and I love it so much.
Oh, have you heard the new Angus and Julia Stone album?
We played it briefly. It's a little bit their sound is a little bit eerie.
I like it.
And they talk about like love songs and stuff with their brother and sister.
That is weird. But I feel like it makes it more interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I listened to Iron and Wine the other day, like for the first time in a very long time. Like I haven't listened to Iron and Wine in like years almost. But I was doing that at work, and it was pretty nice.
Right.
There's one more that I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of the name right now. I can't see my music, otherwise I'd be able to tell you, but
Right.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah, I've also been listening to The Beauty Between from King's Kaleidoscope. Super bummed we couldn't see the show the other day,
I know.
but that's a really good album.
Yeah. There is, oh my gosh, I feel like I would see it and then I would be like, oh yeah, I've been listening to that, but I can't think right now. I have been listening to the new Taylor Swift songs, which is pretty funny. Because I am not a Taylor Swift person at all. But for whatever reason, they are so damn catchy, and I'm like, I need to stop listening to this because I don't like it. Oh, and the Cramps. I've been listening to the Cramps a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so that was our What's You're Listening To for the whole year, basically. We won't do it ever again.
No, we will.
Because we just totally, unloaded our whole library. I think maybe next time we talk about, one album and just go into detail about that.
Yeah. All right, you know what? Let's do some homework. For the next podcast, let's come up with our top 3 albums. And that's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about them. Our top 3s.
I've been listening to
don't
Everything
tell me
Now from Arcade Fire. You already said that. But I've been enjoying that too.
It's a good one. Cool. Well, have a lovely Sunday.
Oh, wait. Are we doing it now? Are we
Are we not?
exiting?
I think we are.
Okay.
There's an airplane, so that might be a good...
Well, you gotta let me cue the outro music.
Oh, sorry. You can hear our creaky swing. You can hear the airplane interrupting us. Our kids are covered in dirt, so it's probably time to go, yeah.
Should I apologize for talking about heavy theology stuff?
No.
Maybe we'll get in that discussion some other time.
Yeah, when there's not kids around.
That's like my life is thinking about theology stuff and just truth.
And that's fine, but I'd rather have that conversation when we're not trying to manage 3 kids.
Yeah.
In the mud.
Maybe we can do that over a beer somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, have a good Sunday, guys.
Have a good Sunday, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one.